Hey guys, welcome back to Paradise's podcast. You're probably noticing that I am not doing this live, and that is because YouTube has a limit where they will not allow you to do live streams unless you have 1,000 subscribers from an Android or iPhone or anything like that. And I did not want to bring my laptop outside and do the scavenger hunt, so therefore I'm just going to do it on my phone and just upload it as soon as I'm done. But for you, I am not going to make any edits to it or cuts or anything, so hopefully I don't say anything stupid so I don't have to do this again. But let's go ahead and get started on our scavenger hunt that we did. I've already written down some things that I found related to the scavenger hunt, so I'm excited to share them with you. So the first thing that I asked you guys to look for was a biotic factor. And my biotic factor is all the way over here in the corner of my yard, chewing up grass and eating sticks. And that is my lovely pup, Digsby. Digsby, say hi to the people. Also didn't know that I wasn't going to be able to turn my phone around, so this is going to be annoying, but we'll make do. Say hi! So Digsby's a biotic factor because he's living, right? So bio means like, biotic, bio. It means living. That's how you kind of differentiate that part. And then the abiotic part is non-living. A means non, so whenever you see the word a in front of a word that you're familiar with, it probably means not that, right? So abiotic means non-living. So a non-living thing could be the soil, and the soil was just what Digsby was chewing and messing around with, so that would be my abiotic and biotic factor interacting with one another. Digsby messing around with the soil. Some other abiotic factors might be like some sticks, some dead leaves that are on the ground. If they're not connected to something that they once were alive, they're no longer alive, so they're still abiotic, okay? My producer would be a tree, lots of those in my backyard. They are growing and they're budding back up. You can see some of the buds forming off of them, and they are going to be blooming pretty soon and making some pretty flowers. A consumer would be anything like me. It could be Digsby, it could be the birds that you might be able to hear that are chirping around, but it's a pretty gloomy day. No birds are fluttering down to the ground as of right now, at least not in my backyard. So next we have a decomposer, which would be like a worm. So I'm going to try and find a worm for you guys. Yum. And see if Digsby is very excited about this part. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip over some of these little stones that I have in my backyard, and hopefully one of them reveals some worms underneath it. And lo and behold, I don't know if you can see it, I hope you can, a worm. Okay, can you see it? Hopefully. So worms, there's some more, right? Worms are decomposers. They're going to break apart this dead, decaying material in our soil, and they're going to give us back all that good, rich humus that the plants love and that they need, right? Without the humus, without the decomposers, we wouldn't be able to continuously see beautiful plants and flowers bloom during the spring like we are going to within the coming month, right? I already have some pretty flowers blooming in my yard. Next up, habitat. What I just showed you under that rock, that is a habitat for those animals, right? I have some little knots in the trees in my backyard. You can consider those a habitat. That's where the animals live. That's where they get their nutrients from. Things of that nature, right? Nature, pun intended. Weathering and erosion. So weathering and erosion, you can look at a lot of different things. If you find some different rocks in your area, maybe in your backyard, you can see that they're probably broken apart. So one of the things that I noticed is that the posts in my backyard, they're with all this concrete on them, right? And all the concrete gets broken down. See, I can even peel some of it off now. It's weathered from the water, from the wind, from animals burrowing into it and through it, right? So that concrete, which is a rock at one point, it gets hardened, right? It's starting to break down. It's weathering apart. So remember, weathering breaks it, erosion takes it, and when it stops, deposition drops. So the erosion part, you can see right there, I could have picked some and put it in a different place, and that could have been my deposition. One of the deposition pieces that I like to talk about is I have a lot of sand in my backyard. The people who used to live here had a sandbox, and they left all their sand. So the deposition of the sand, all right, Diggs. The deposition of the sand, just leaving it and letting it go out, even though there's no more sandbox, deposition drops. The sand is just staying there, right? And it will eventually, maybe one day, long time from now, turn into some type of sedimentary rock, right? Next up, we have a pollinator, which unfortunately I've looked and looked, but I've not been able to find one right now. I think it's just a little bit too cold out for those pollinators. But bees, I do have some that like to linger around my yard, but not today. I didn't see any, but I'm sure you guys might have found some. The other day I saw a bunch, like I said, but some days you just can't get the bees out. An omnivore, same thing. Could be me, could be Digsby, could be the birds that you hear, the squirrels that Digsby likes to chase. All of those things are omnivores. Omni is all, so they eat both plants and other animals or other organisms, so plants and meat. A carnivore could be like a hawk. I see sometimes that fly up around my yard, or spiders. So I actually saw a spider over in this one corner of my yard. And I don't know if you guys will be able to see it, but he's pretty. He's got a pretty stellar web going on here, a lot of stuff stuck in it, but he's back in that corner. He was hiding over there from me a little earlier, but got lots of spider webs around here. And these spider webs, the spiders are just eating those animals that get caught in them, so they are carnivores, right? A herbivore could be little bunnies. I have some bunnies running around my yard. The other day, a bunny was in my backyard, and Digsby saw it and freaked out and like tried to chase after it because he thought it was like a little toy for him to play with. The bunny got away. Digsby did not get the bunny, but it was still pretty cute. And those bunnies are eating the little grasses in my backyard, the little berry bushes, things like that. Something that reflects light. The moon is going to reflect light. And I know we didn't specifically talk about this, but I just wanted to see what you guys got from it. So moon, if it's out right now, I don't know what phase it's in, but if it is out, I don't see it because there's way too many clouds outside, as I'm sure you guys can see. So no moon today, but that's what I used as my reflecting of light. A conductor. So we're going to go over here to my little workstation. A conductor is like this pan. It's like from Tangled, right? How she uses the metal pan to just hit people over the head. So this metal pan is actually a skillet, and it gets really hot when you put it on the stove. And we want conductors to get hot. They conduct heat. They get that heat. They heat up really quickly. And we want that with our cooking supplies so that it doesn't take forever to cook things. The faster that this heats up, when we put food on it, that food will get hot really quick, right? So we want those hot cast iron skillets. We want hot pots and pans to cook our food in so that it can heat up very quickly. Next up is an insulator, which is a cooler, which I do have. It's in my shed right now, so I'm not going to get it out. But coolers, things like that, jackets. This isn't really a good insulator because this is just like a rain jacket. But if you're wearing like a puffy jacket, those are insulators. They keep the heat in, right? They insulate you. They keep you nice and warm. Sound. Me, the birds that are chirping, the cars that are driving by, Digsby when he barks at little animals and critters that he sees, or when he hears other people around, right? Digsby, speak. 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 Good boy. Good job. So Digsby can make sound too, yeah. Solids would be like rocks. And a lot of things that you can see in your backyard are going to be solids. Trees, my deck, my house, these tree stumps that I have laying around, rocks, I think I said already, but lots of different solids around. Gases would be like the air, and liquids could be like water. Ta-da! Which brings me to my next part, which is going to be the solubles. Oh wait, no, I forgot chemical and physical changes. Okay, so chemical changes, before we go into that part, chemical changes are going to be things like rust, right? So I have some rust in my backyard from these little, if you can see it, if you can clear up, these nails that are out here all the time. So they get rusty because they interact with the air, the metal interacting with the oxygen outside, and the water is going to cause it to rust. That is a chemical change because I can't change that back. Now I could kind of scrape off some of that rust maybe, but I could never change that rust back into the metal that it was. Chemical changes happen. It's no longer the same thing. As for physical change, lots of different things you could do with that. One of the easiest things is just taking a leaf and ripping it up. That's a physical change. Still have two pieces of a leaf here, but they're now separate, right? So we split it into two pieces. We didn't change what it was. We just kind of changed the appearance of it or the shape of it. Now to my experiment that I was going to do with something that is soluble. Salt is soluble. So if I put some salt into my water, you can see it falling down. And if I shake that water up, and I have a fork and not a spoon, I should probably be using a spoon. And I shake it, and I stir it. Eventually, all of the salt at the bottom of my glass, I don't even know if you guys can see this because I can't record well with this, but the salt at the bottom of the glass, you can see those little particles. They're all slowly dissolving, right? And I also have some, there are some like dirt particles in here, so excuse those, but some sand down there as well. But most of the salt got dissolved, right? It is soluble in water, so it dissolves in that water. And this would be a solution, right? So the solvent is what it dissolves in, and the solute is what dissolves, right? Next up is, where am I? Something that's more dense than water. A rock. Place this rock in this cup of water. What's going to happen? It drops down to the bottom. Something that's less soluble than water would be like this little prickly from one of the trees around here, right? These are actually these like little seed pods that get dropped and they get traveled away. Stick that in the water, it floats, right? It's a pretty good tactic for the pollination. They drop them, and if they get stuck in water, they float away from the regular tree, because you don't want your, like when trees have seeds that grow, they don't want them to grow right next to them, because then they'll be competing for resources like the sunlight, like the nutrients in the ground. So they want them to get far enough away so that they're still having the chance to survive and spread their offspring without having to compete with them necessarily for the resources that they need. A food chain. So I wasn't able to actually witness a food chain, which if you did, that is incredible, because I cannot fathom witnessing some of the stuff that I wrote down for some options of food chains that would happen like in my backyard. So some of the things that I did is I have a bush right around the corner from my house, like on the other side of my house, that has berries. Birds eat the berries, and then maybe a little bird eats a berry, and then that bird gets eaten by a snake. Sorry, baby bird. After that snake eats that bird and digests it and is like, yeah, that was so yummy, the hawk is going to come by and snatch that snake up with its talons, and then that snake is bye-bye, and the hawk is very full. So that's an example of one that I thought about. Another one would just be like the grass, a little bug maybe eating the grass, and then it accidentally hops into a spider web. Unfortunately, that spider needs some dinner. He's going to wrap up that little bug and eat him. And then maybe a bird is going to eat that spider and scoops it up, nibbles it up. And then the snake eats the bird, hawk eats the snake, So lots of different options. And those are just two of many, many, many that could happen in a backyard. Your backyard could be totally different. You could have different organisms that live back there. You could think of tons of different ones. So pretty neato. All right, so some of the questions I asked you guys to talk about was, what were the coolest things that you saw in your backyard? What were some things that you were like surprised or didn't expect to see? Did you notice anything different when you did your scavenger hunt than you normally notice when you're in your backyard? And how many habitats did you see? So coolest thing that I saw, I'd like to say, I think it's really interesting when you go and take a look at your surroundings and you take like a closer look and you examine things a little bit more with like a fine-tooth comb. You can find some things in your backyard that you didn't notice were there, or some little intricacies that maybe you missed over before. So some of the things that I find that are really cool is just when you flip over a rock and you get to see all of the different like tunnels that the worms have carved out so that they can travel through, and looking at the different organisms that live in like the tiniest little cracks and crevices. When I was out here before I started filming, I found a little pine cone like this one, and I wanted to see if I could like find the seeds that are inside, or see if I have like, just get like a better view for you guys of the inside of it. And when I pulled it open, there was like a little grub, a little larva growing in there, and so I thought that was pretty cool that he made that his home. So those are some cool things and some things that I was surprised about. And like I said, the things that, noticed is just like how intricate things can be in your backyard and in the space that you live, and how many organisms you actually share your house or your backyard with. So it's pretty neat how we all kind of interact together and everything. And then the number of habitats, that's crazy to think about. There's tons of different habitats. I mean, you have your habitat of your whole backyard itself, but then if you think about the specific habitats, like maybe, like I was saying before, like a little knot in a tree, or like I showed the spider web over there in the corner of my yard. You could talk about like in the ground versus in the trees, in bushes, things like that. Different habitats that these animals make and they call home, that they can find all their resources in. So pretty cool. I hope that you guys, those of you who did do it, I thank you for submitting them. It was really cool to see some of the things that you guys found in your backyards. I hope you guys had fun doing this. I know that it was fun for me to kind of investigate and look at all the different things that go on in our backyards and in our houses, and things that we don't even normally notice. So other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Sorry I couldn't make it live. Maybe if I get to 1,000 subscribers one day, I'll be able to do a live video from my phone. But as for now, I will continue to do these updates, and if you guys have any questions, you know where to find me.